This is episode 17 of the Dunk's Movie Corner pod. I am your host, Duncan or Dunk. If you are new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Just as a quick summary, folks, this is a quick little recap of what I watched each week, either in television or movies, my thoughts on those movies or TV shows, just real quick reviews. Um, and then I just post it out for you folks. This is more of a companion podcast to the Movie Bros, which is more of a conversation between myself and my brother, where we pick a movie, watch that movie, banter about that movie. So that's something I would definitely recommend if you want something a little more meaty than this. But it just deep dives on one movie, whereas this is going to be a kind of an overlook on many, and it is roughly a week every posting. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more. That's okay. And with that in mind, if you do enjoy this, you can like, subscribe, follow, rate, share, do all the things if you feel so inclined. But otherwise, let's just kind of get into what I watched this week. I started the week with The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This was 2023. This is the prequel to Hunger Games with Jennifer Lawrence, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, all that stuff. This is the prequel, and should preface it saying I've heard that they've got another prequel on the way about Haymitch, which is Jennifer Lawrence's mentor in the movies. His like comeuppance as a tribute, but that's another episode. Either way, I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. It was pretty good, but it definitely pales to the originals. Granted, I was thinking back, the originals came out when I was in maybe middle school, maybe early high school, like ninth grade. So again, 15, 16, maybe I'd view them differently, but this was not that great. Either way, I didn't really like Rachel Zegler, I believe is her name in this, the main protagonist, young lady who President Snow, before he's President Snow, kind of mentors in the Hunger Games. I know it's a lot of exposition. She kind of goes in and out of this accent, kind of this southern country twang, and she sang. I didn't realize this was going to be almost a musical with how much they sprinkle in her singing, and this is way too long. Like, it's 2.5 hours, and it definitely did not need to be 2.5 hours. Because the Hunger Games that they are a part of ends, and then they're like, oh, wait, here's another 45 minutes. They could have wrapped this up much faster. I think they humanize President Snow, because again, in the Hunger Games movies, he is the antagonist to Katniss Everdeen, whatever her name is. And he is the main character in this. It's his comeuppance. And they make him too likable, too pretty boy. Yeah, it didn't feel right to me. Jason Schwartzman, who I actually like in a lot of things, he's in a lot of Wes Anderson's movies. If you saw him, he's got a very specific look. He's got dark, heavy eyebrows. He's kind of a very specific nose. You'd know him if you saw him. He is the TV announcer in this, whereas Stanley Tucci was the TV announcer in the Hunger Games, and he does a pretty good job. But I do feel like he was mostly underutilized. Like, they could have used him a lot more. I felt like he had a couple little creep out moments where I was like, "Oh, this is good. Give me more of that." And then they just didn't. Viola Davis is sort of a antagonist, sort of a side plot. I don't even know how to place her as what she is to this story. Like, she does further the plot. It's not that she is in this a lot, but when she's in this, she is a lot. Kind of almost over the top, kooky. Like, it almost gave me Dr. Seuss meets Tim Burton kind of vibes from her. And I don't know if it worked well for me. I would say it doesn't need to be super grounded in realism, because again, obviously this isn't real. But hers was so far not grounded in realism that it definitely kind of took me out of it. That's kind of quickly what I thought about the prequel to the Hunger Games. Again, that's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I believe this is on. It might be on Peacock. I think I just found it at the library. I found that making use of just getting a free DVD anytime I want is kind of a good deal as long as I've got a DVD player and a TV. Um, but watch this, form your own opinions. I know lots of people like this. I think roughly 3.5 out of 5 is pretty much the general consensus. Like pretty good, but maybe not amazing. I think it did all right at the box office. Either way, from there I jumped way, way back in time to 1953. Yes, 1953, folks. This is black and white. This is Audrey Hepburn. This is Roman Holiday. Have I seen Breakfast at Tiffany's? No, I have not yet. I will probably get around to watching it, and I get that this was like, if you look at it, it's very well reviewed. It's just too old for me. She's super cute, and I like the story. It's almost one of the originals of that kind of story that I feel like a lot of other things have copied. But oh man, it definitely I could not get into it strictly because it felt so of a different era. The writing, the music breaks, it felt very much, oh, like this was made in the 50s, and it shows. And there's nothing, I wouldn't say it's inherently wrong, but it's just not for me. So I gave it 2.5 out of 5. But if you look overall, I believe it has a like 4 point something average review out of 5, which is, again, it's very good. Most people agree. That's how they think about it. The other one is Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck, I believe he is the fella from, what's it called? To Kill a Mockingbird. That I think we all maybe had to either read or watch in high school or middle school. I probably would not rewatch this. And it's weird. I thought some this was going to be in Rome. It would make me, because I'm a fairly impressionable person when it comes to movies. Like a lot of times, if something happens, I'm like, oh, I want to go do that, or oh, I want to go to that place. This did not make me feel like I wanted to go to Rome. And I feel like maybe if it was made maybe at least a little bit more recently, maybe with color, maybe with more interesting shots, maybe I would actually feel like I want to go there. Just a thought. From there, I jumped ahead to this year. I feel like I needed something much more fresh, something a little more electric, if you know what I mean. To Challengers. This was 2024. This is the Zendaya tennis movie, like threesome thing. The music is really, I think, interesting because it's almost like electronica synth music for a tennis. It definitely makes things feel, the pacing feels much stronger. Lots of interesting cinematography, both on the court and off the court. The actual narrative, basically, of just basically a love triangle where not no one is a great person, if I'm honest. And it jumps around a little bit, timeline wise, and that's fine. I felt like the way it was portrayed, they probably could have had maybe a more standout. This is who you probably should be rooting for, but at the end you're like, okay, I don't really like any of these people, and they're playing each other, and you're like, okay, I don't really want either of them to win. And the ending felt okay. So the ending match between the two boys who are both pining after Zendaya, one who's like her actual husband, but he's like starting to fall off the skill set and everything of his career. The other one is uh trying still to become an actual like paid pro tennis player. They end by like having a great match, sort of tackling slash hugging each other at the net, and Zendaya like cheering them on. Like, yes, I get that like they both found their passion again, and they both found like the enjoyment of the sport with each other that they used to love because they used to play together. It just felt like it felt inconclusive, and don't get me wrong, I like a lot of movies that are, hey, you figure out how you want this movie to end, and like in your own brain, vis-a-vis Comet, Inception, all those kinds of movies. I actually really like that kind of stuff. However, it felt like it was missing something. Felt like it wasn't enough of a period at the end of the sentence, the ending. Just a personal opinion. I have watched a little bit more of Normal People. Again, they very cute so far. There's a couple little cracks and crevices of the growing pains of like a high school relationship with okay, this is, I believe it's 2022 or 21. Paul Mescal I blank on her name every single time. She's got 3 first names. It's Daisy something. Edgar Jones, I think is maybe her name. That sounds right. But I'm starting to see like, oh, these are the things in high school that I don't realize don't matter, but they don't matter, and then it affects your relationships and things like that. Still very good. I'm done with Ben 10. I watched 4 seasons, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good. And I am on episode, I believe, 5 of The Penguin, which is still fantastic. I know kind of everyone is saying that. I think I talked about this last week, but both Colin Farrell, who is, yes, the Penguin, and Sophia Falcone, of course, I can't remember her actress name. She is amazing. Like, she definitely is the show-stealing performance. That's fantastic. I'll probably say that every week until I finish watching it. It's just, hey, if you haven't gotten around to watching it, you don't need to watch all the other like Batman affiliated. It's like it's in that world, but it stands alone, and I very much appreciate that. So, from Hunger Games to Roman Holiday to Challengers to a little bit more of Normal People and The Penguin. From there, folks, I believe this was yesterday or the day before. I jumped to 2024 and watched or rewatched. Technically, I've seen this before. I saw it in theaters. The Ministry of Ungentlemenly Warfare. If you don't know what this is, I would say look up Guy Ritchie. He makes super, super fun, like heisty mobster, like British, like quick banter, fun movie. They're just fun movies. He did the Sherlock Holmes ones with Robert Downey Jr. He did The Gentleman. He did Snatch. He did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He did this. And I gave this 3.5 out of 5. It's very fun. It's not like amazing, great movie, but it's like you're generally gonna have a good time watching it. It's a fairly stacked cast of Henry Cavill, who plays the main, and this is all basically true story stuff that they've pulled from declassified files from Winston Churchill. But Henry Cavill, Isa Gonzalez, you'd recognize her. She's been in several good things. Alan Richardson, who plays the newer Jack Reacher on Amazon Prime. He used to do what else have I seen him in? I mean, back in the early 2000s, he was in Smallville as Aqualad or whatever. But he is a mountain of a man. Like I mean, Henry Cavill's a big guy. Alan makes him look like a little baby toddler. He's in this. Henry Goulding is fun in this. Carrie Ells, the guy from Princess Bride. This is very fun. I would recommend watching it if you have a chance or find a way to do so. And from there, I watched just this morning, or at least I started it last night. Had to stop because I was getting tired and finished it this morning. Um, I went to 2005 and watched Cinderella Man on Netflix. This is a Ron Howard movie. If you don't know Ron Howard, he has done a ton of great movies. I feel like he's like the only well-known like ginger director in Hollywood that I could think of, or like he's very prominent. I mean, he has been around for a long time, and if you looked at his filmography, it shows. But this was Russell Crowe. It's set during the Great Depression as a boxer. Paul Giamatti is his manager. Renee Zellweger, I can never say her name right. Zellweger is his wife, and it's just him trying to basically keep his family out of starvation and poverty by either working on the docks or going and trying to get fights. Is it fun? Is it like very like I don't know if inspirational is the right word, but I'm sure when this came out, there's a lot of corporate events uh, booked around like this kind of thing. But it's a feel good movie. Like it's not horrifically like depressing by the end, at least. Paul Giamatti says, "You son of a bitch," like in the like very like 30s accent, maybe 100 times at least in this movie. Like it's every other line is "you son of a bitch." Renee Zellweger, I've never liked her. Maybe in anything. I don't know if it's her like kind of stuffy voice or if she only does these kind of very specific period pieces from like the early 1900s. that I have never been a fan of. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, people can like what they like. And speaking of different opinions, if you listen to the most recent episode of the Movie Bros, kind of a plug here for my brother and I's podcast, we break down Comet, which I rewatched last week as preparation for it, and boy, did we disagree. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but I'd say check that out if you have a second. It's like 45 minutes or so if you are driving to work, coming home from work, at the gym, vacuuming the house, and you need something to listen to. We definitely don't agree on that one. But more or less, folks, this is what I watched this week. 1, 2, 3, roughly 5, 6 if you count the penguins / normal people. So 6 things, kind of a little bit of a lighter week. Because again, Halloween kind of happened, so went out and about with people a few different times in the evening, so it's kind of full up. Tonight it's Tuesday, it's election night. Maybe I'll try to find something when I get home from work to watch that is presidential, for lack of a better word, that I'll talk about next week. But thanks for listening. Again, if you enjoyed yourself, give this a 5-star review. That kind of helps share it around. You can follow, you can rate 5 stars, you can do all the buzzwordy things. And I'll see you all next week for hopefully another movie-filled week.